So let's get started, guys. Let's get started. I think I'll start from the homework questions that were given to you earlier, so that I'm pretty sure some people will be joining at 8 o'clock only. So that way they might not miss on to new concepts or new topics. Okay, I've done all homework. Okay, guys. So today we will only be solving problems, right? So whatever homework was given to you, that and other questions from conditionals, we are going to discuss. Okay. Cool. Is there any data type greater than long? In C++, we had long. In Java, I don't know if there is a long or not. You need to check it out, right? Sir, want PDFs and some study material from scratch. See, Jayesh, what I would suggest is the lectures are covering almost all the topics from scratch, right? So watch the lecture recordings, whatever resources are given after the class, read those articles. So that will cover the theoretical portion for you all in a very good manner, right? And after that, you just need to solve more problems, right? So in classes, we will be solving some problems. A list of questions will be given to you from gym as well. Okay, once we have done, sufficient number of concepts, then, okay. Okay. So let's get started, guys. Let me start sharing the screen. Okay. No, the recording is already on. I think we can, come to questions. Okay, guys. So the idea for today's class is pretty simple, right? We are going to solve questions today, right? All the concepts that we have studied so far, primarily of conditionals, right? We are going to use all those concepts and try to solve problems today. Okay. So no new lecture concept today, but we'll try to, apply the concepts that we have already learned to solve problems. Okay. So guys, let's get started with some of the questions that I had given to you guys as homework on Friday, right? So the three problems that were given as homework on Friday was number of days, conditional problem 6, and quadrants. Okay. So first of all, let us have a look in the chats as to how many of you got the time to attempt the homework questions. See, guys, it's very important that, you are getting 1 day to 2 days of time in between the homework discussion. Please make sure that at least once you are sitting down with the homework questions, attempting them, okay, then only your learning will become more and more clear. Done all questions. Great, guys, great. So I think quickly we'll start with discussing the conditional questions that were given as homework, and then we will pick up new questions for today. Okay. So let's get started, guys. Let's get started. Okay. So maybe we can start with quadrants. Let's get started with quadrants. Okay. Cool, guys. So let's read the question and then we'll try to write the code for it, develop a logic, and then we'll try to write a code. Okay. So let's read the question, guys. Quadrants. Whether the screen has loaded fully or not. 1 second, guys. This is why is it showing up black here? I'm not sure. Okay. Anyways. Okay, guys, let's read the question. A common problem in mathematics is to determine which quadrant a given point lies in. Okay. So for people who are not aware, right? So in maths, when we did coordinate geometry, right? We had these 4 quadrants, right? This is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. So this is known as the first quadrant. This was my second quadrant, right? This was my third quadrant, and this was my fourth quadrant, right? So see, guys, a common problem in mathematics is to determine which quadrant a given point lies in. Okay. So any point in the 2-dimensional plane, right, has 2 coordinates, an x coordinate and a y coordinate. Okay. So let's say that I ask you a point, I give you a point, I give you 3, 4. Okay. I give you, hey, Adarsh, can you please tell me in which quadrant does this point 3, 4 lies? So what is the meaning of this point 3, 4? 3 units you have to move in the x direction and 4 units you have to travel in the y direction. Okay. So this is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. Okay. So guys, 3 points in the x direction, right? So 1, 2, 3. Okay. We come here. Then we have to move 4 places towards the y direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So this point here, this will be 3, 4. Okay. The x coordinate of this point is 3. That is, it is 3 units to the right from the origin. And the y coordinate is 4. That means it has a height of 4 units. Okay. Let's say if I give you another point as minus 3, 4. What does it mean? Minus 3, 4. Iska matlab kya hua, guys? You will be traveling for 3 units on the x-axis in the left-hand side, right? See, the right-hand side is positive direction and the above side is also positive direction. So if you travel in the left or if you travel bottom, then it is negative direction. So first of all, you have to move 3 units in the left direction, right? Because it is a minus sign. Okay, so minus 3 units you have to travel. So from the origin, we will be moving 3 units to the left. So I come here. Okay, this is point number minus 3. And then I will travel 4 units in the positive y direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So I will come somewhere here. This is minus 3, 4. Okay, so likewise, we have points in geometry, okay, in coordinate geometry. And any point has 2 coordinates, an x coordinate and a y coordinate, which will tell me the location of that particular point. Okay. So if you see here, guys, this is point 12, 5. Okay. So you have traveled 12 units in the x direction and then you have traveled 5 units in the y direction to reach the point 12, 5. Look at this point, guys, minus 12, 5. What is the meaning of minus 12, 5? See, boss, you have to travel 12 units in the left direction. X hai na ye. See, what is this first coordinate? This first coordinate is the x coordinate. So the x coordinate is minus 12. That means you need to travel on the x-axis for 12 points in the left direction. So from here, I will move 12 units to the left. So I come to minus 12. And then what is the y coordinate? 5. So I will travel 5 places above. So here is this point. Okay. Similarly, if you have point minus 12, minus 5, iska matlab kya hua, guys? Travel for 12 units in the left side and then move down 5 units, right? Because I want to travel minus 5 in the y direction. So where is the minus sign? In the bottom direction, right? See, if you have to go to a negative point, then you will be moving down along the y-axis. And if your point is plus, your y coordinate is positive, that means you are moving above the y-axis, okay? Moving in this direction, okay? And similarly, this is your coordinate wherein the x coordinate is positive and the y coordinate is negative, okay? So what they are asking us is, boss, you have 4 quadrants in mathematics. We have all studied about. This is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4, right? See, this part, right? This entire box, think of it. This is your first quadrant. This entire second box is your second quadrant. This bottom is your third quadrant and this is your fourth quadrant, okay? So they are telling you, boss, you are given the point and you have to determine in which point a particular quadrant, in which quadrant that particular point lies, okay? So for example, look at their illustration and understanding. For example, point A, which has the coordinates as 12, 5, lies in quadrant 1. And see, guys, what is the trait of the first quadrant? See, agar mere ko origin se start karna hai, this is the origin, right? If I have to start from the origin and come to the first quadrant, what I will have to do? My x coordinate will be positive and my y coordinate will also be positive. So my first quadrant is characterized by x coordinate greater than 0 and y coordinate should also be greater than 0. Because see, guys, from the origin, you are traveling towards the right and then you are traveling above to reach the first quadrant. So first quadrant is categorized by both the x and the y coordinates are positive. Similarly, guys, how is the second coordinate, second quadrant categorized? See, guys, from the origin, first of all, you have to move to the left. So what does it mean? The x coordinate will be negative and then I have to travel above. So the y coordinate will be positive. So for the second quadrant now, the x coordinate is negative and the y coordinate is positive. Take any point in the second quadrant, you will see that the x coordinate is negative and the y coordinate is positive. Similarly, guys, how do you characterize the third quadrant? The third quadrant, the x coordinate is negative and the y coordinate will also be negative. Because how are you coming to the third quadrant from origin? You will have to travel in the left direction and then you will have to move in the bottom direction. So for the third quadrant, the x coordinate is also negative and the y coordinate is also negative. Okay, guys, similarly for the fourth quadrant, what happens? The x coordinate will be positive because you are traveling in the right and then you are moving bottom. So the x coordinate is positive, but the y coordinate is negative. So these are the characteristic traits of the 4 given quadrants, right? So first quadrant, both the x and y coordinates are positive. Second quadrant, x is negative, y is positive. Third quadrant, both x and y coordinates will be negative. And fourth quadrant, x coordinate will be positive and the y coordinate will be negative. Okay. So now they are telling you that, boss, I am giving you a point x, y. Can you tell in which quadrant the point is lying? So you simply have to do an analysis, right? If both the coordinates are positive, it is lying in quadrant 1. If x coordinate is negative and y is positive, it is lying in quadrant 2. And likewise, you will be taking a decision. Okay. So your job is to take a point and determine the quadrant it is in. You can assume that neither of the 2 coordinates will be 0. So they are telling you, you won't be getting points which are lying on the axis. Okay. कोई भी coordinate x या y coordinate will not be 0. That means the point will not be lying on either of the axis. Okay, it is purely lying inside a particular coordinate. Okay, so let's look at an input-output example and then we'll be having more clear. The input consists of 2 lines. The first line is consisting of the x coordinate and the second line denotes the y coordinate. So if you look at this input, guys, x coordinate is 10 and y coordinate is 6. So both the x and the y coordinates are positive. So what should be my output? This point 10, 6 is lying in the first quadrant. So my output will be 1. See, output the quadrant number 1, 2, 3 or 4, whatever is this for the particular point. Let's look at example 2. 9 and minus 13. So the x coordinate is positive and the y coordinate is negative. So can anybody help me in which quadrant does example number 2 point lies? In which quadrant? 9, minus 13. Can you classify in which quadrant? The x coordinate is positive and the y coordinate is negative. Soch ke dekho, guys. It's in quadrant number 4, right? It's in quadrant number 4. How quadrant number 2? Guys, see, for quadrant number 4, your x coordinate is positive and the y coordinate is negative. So for this, the output will be quadrant number 4. Okay. So is everyone clear with the question that you are given a point x, y and you have to tell in which quadrant the particular point lies? Okay. So let's get started with the solution. I think the solution is pretty simple, right? So again, yes, Anshu, so what I'm trying to say is, if you remember coordinate geometry, then every point has an x coordinate and the y coordinate. ठीक है? और हर एक quadrant का ना एक characteristic होता है. Now what do I mean when I say quadrant 1? This entire region now, this entire region is quadrant number 1. So in quadrant 1, if you take any point now, you will see that the x coordinate is positive. Why? Because from origin you have to travel in the right side direction, and then for in the y also you have to travel upwards. तभी आप quadrant 1 में पहुंचोगे. आप origin से पहले right में move करोगे and then you will travel in the upward direction. This is how you will reach quadrant 1. So the x coordinate is also positive, the y coordinate is also positive. ठीक है? Distances that are measured in the right direction or in the top direction, they are positive. But अब quadrant 2 में देखो, what is happening for quadrant 2? From origin, first of all, you will have to travel in the left direction. So the left direction is negative, right? So the x coordinate is negative. And then you have to travel above, so the y coordinate is positive. Similarly, look at the third quadrant. From origin, you have to first travel in the left direction, so the x coordinate is negative. And then you have to travel downwards, so the y coordinate is also negative. So think of it like if you are traveling in the right, the x coordinate is positive. If you are traveling in the left, the x coordinate is negative. If you are traveling in this direction, okay, upward direction, y coordinate is positive. And if you are traveling in the downward direction, the y coordinate is negative. So depending on how you are reaching the quadrant from origin, you know that whether the x coordinate is positive or negative, right? And depending on the values of x and y, you can tell me whether the point is in the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, or fourth quadrant, okay? So guys, let's get quickly started with this, okay? So first of all, let's make a scanner, right? Let's make a scanner. I don't know why is this not coming up full screen, but anyhow, okay. So scanner SC is equal to new scanner, okay, system.in. So I made a scanner object. Now guys, we have two lines of input. The first line is the x coordinate and the second line is the y coordinate. So let's take the x coordinate. Int x is equals to sc.nextInt. So I've read the x coordinate. Then let's read the y coordinate. Int y is equals to sc.nextInt. So I have read both the x and the y coordinates from the user. Now guys, what I have to do? I have to take a decision. So guys, how will I take a decision? सबसे पहले check करते हैं कि is this point in the first quadrant or not. So how do I know? मैं बोलूंगा boss, x should be greater than 0 and y should be greater than 0. If both x and y coordinates are positive, then it is lying in the first quadrant. So can I write it like this? If x is greater than 0, that means the x coordinate is positive, and y greater than 0. So if both these conditions hold true, then only this entire condition of the if statement becomes true, right? Because you are combining these two conditions with a logical AND. So when will I enter inside the if block? If both x is greater than 0 and y is greater than 0. If both the coordinates x and y are greater than 0, that means the point is lying in quadrant number 1. So what will I print, guys? I will be printing system.out.println 1. I will print quadrant number 1. Okay. Now, guys, help me. Should I write another if? Let's say now I want to check for quadrant number 2, right? So should I write another if or should I use an else if, or will both of them work fine? Else if? Chalo, theek hai, else if use karte, right? Let's use else if. Actually, both will work fine, right? I'll tell you later. Okay. Okay, now let's write else if. I'll use an if, else kind of a ladder, right? Because see, what can happen? Either the point is in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2 or quadrant 3 or quadrant 4. इनके अलावा तो कोई और option नहीं है. And a given point will be lying in only one of the particular quadrants. A point cannot be present in both quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, right? It will be present only in one particular quadrant. Okay. So I use an else if. So guys, when will I come to line number 17? I have ruled out the fact that the point is in quadrant 1. क्योंकि अगर मेरा point quadrant 1 में होता ना, then this condition would have been true and I wouldn't have come to this else if. So I know now that the point is not in quadrant 1. So now let's check for quadrant 2. Else if I am checking x is less than 0 and y greater than 0. If this condition holds true, right, the x coordinate is negative and the y coordinate is positive, that means the point is lying in the second coordinate. So I will do a system.out.println 2. Okay. Now, let's say even this condition becomes false, right? Let's say even this condition is not true. That means the point is not even in the second quadrant. So now let us check for the third quadrant. So let's have another else if. Else if x is less than 0 and y less than 0. If both the x and the y coordinates are negative, that means the point is in the third quadrant. So I will be printing system.out.println quadrant 3. Okay. And let's say, guys, if all these conditions evaluate to be false, okay. If all these conditions evaluate to be false, that means what is the last quadrant that is left for you? Quadrant number 4. So if this condition is not true, this condition is not true, this condition is not true, iska matlab kya hua? There is only one possible quadrant where your point can lie. So I will write an else block and I will say, if I am coming inside the else block, that means the point is lying in quadrant number 4. So I will simply do a system.out.println 4. Okay. That's it, guys. Very, very simple and basic code. So we use an if else kind of a ladder, and we check on, the conditions, right? So first of all, I'm evaluating for quadrant one. If this condition evaluates to be true, then we will enter, we will print quadrant one, and then I will come outside this if else structure. Okay. If this condition is false, then I will evaluate for quadrant two. If this is also false, I will evaluate for quadrant three. If this is also false, I will enter the else block and I will print that the point is lying in quadrant four. So any one of the blocks of this if else ladder will run. And that is correct, right? Because it cannot happen that the point is in multiple quadrants, right? ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता है. A point will either be in quadrant 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. It cannot lie in both the quadrants, right? So this is looking fine. Now let's try to do a input output. So let's take the point as 5,10. So ideally the output should be quadrant number 1 because both the x and the y coordinates for this particular point are positive. So let's see if the output is coming as 1 or not. Yes, it's coming 1 fine. Okay. So now let's try to submit this code and see whether it's working fine or not. Yes, it's working fine. It's working fine, right? So let's see, guys, is anyone having any doubt here? Like how we are doing? We have just used a very basic if else kind of a ladder, and we are evaluating the conditions for different quadrants. Okay. Second problem that was given as homework, and this is also a pretty nice question. Okay, pretty basic question, which is number of days. Okay. So let's read the question once. Given the number of the month, your task is to calculate the number of days present in the particular month. Okay. Consider a non-leap year. Now, what do they mean when they say a non-leap year? Boss, leap year में क्या होता है? Leap year में February has 29 days and the total number of days in the year is 366. Okay. But in case of a normal year, the number of days is 365 and February has 28 days. Right? Yeah, I'll come to questions. Let me discuss this question and I'll take consolidated doubts and questions. Okay. Cool. So guys, you have to consider a non-leap year. So we are talking of an year which has 365 days. That is, February basically will have 28 days only. So what they are telling you, you are getting an integer m denoting the number of the month, and you have to print the number of days in that particular month. Okay. So what does it mean, guys? If the month number is 1, let's say they give us the month number, right? So if the month number is 1, that means I am talking of month January. Okay. If the month number is 2, that means I am talking of February. If the month number is 3, I am talking of March. If the month number is 4, I am talking of April. And likewise, if the month number is 12, I am talking of December. So in the problem, we are getting the month number between 1 to 12, right? And we have to tell how many days are in that particular month. Okay. So if the input is 1, that means we are talking of January. How many days does January have? It has 31 days. So we will print in the output 31. Okay. Let's look at another example. If there are no more. So let's say if you give input as 2. Okay. So I am asking how many days are in the February month. So we will print the output as 28. Similarly, if somebody asks you how many days in month number 4, somebody gives you month number 4, right? That means you have to tell how many days in April. Okay. So how many days in April, guys? 30 days. So you will have to print the output as 30. So given the month number, you have to tell what is the particular number of days in that particular month, right? And guys, I use a very simple technique to remember how many days are there in a given month. And I'm pretty sure many of people here use that technique, right? Knuckles dekho apne, right? Look at your knuckles. Okay. So the raised parts now, the raised parts of your knuckle, they are 31 days. And the parts which are inside, they are 30 days. Okay. So, January has 31 days. Please follow along with me on your knuckles, right? So if you start, January has 31 days. February has 28 days. Then March will have 31 days. April has 30 days. May has 31 days. June has 30 days. July has 31. August again has 31, right? August, then September has 30. October has 31. November has 30. And December has 31. Does everyone understand how to get the number of days in a particular month? See, you can look up a calendar also very simply to know how many days are there in a particular month. But do you all know this knuckle technique? I'm pretty sure many of you or almost everyone here knows this knuckle way of checking how many days are there in a month, right? We all have learned this technique in our childhood, right? Okay. So guys, what I am asking you is, how do you know how many days a particular month has, right? So look at your knuckles. You can look at your just fist, apna muthi bana lo, okay? Just make a fist and see your knuckles, right? So you will have raised portions and you will have, trenches, okay? So the raised portion, they are 31, okay? And the trenches, right? You will see wave-like pattern or your, on your, fist. So the bottoms are basically 30 days or 28 days, right? So start with the leftmost knuckle, right? It is January. So January has 31 days. So if I basically write down here what all months have 31 days. So let me write the month numbers here, guys, which have 31 days. And either you agree with me or you disagree with me, right? So guys, month number 1, January has 31 days. Okay. Then month number 3 has 31 days. Okay. Then month number 5 has 31 days. Okay. Then month number 7 has 31 days. Then month number 8 has 31 days. Then month number 10 and month number 12. All these months, okay, that is January, March, May, July, August, October, and December. All these months have 31 days. Okay. Then month number 2, this is February, and this will have 28 days. And all other months, what are the other months, guys? What are the other months? Sorry, 1, 2, 3 is done. 4, 6, okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. These 4 months have 31, 30 days, right? So does everyone agree with me that month number 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12, these are having 31 days, okay? 4, 6, 9, and 11, these months have 30 days. And month number 2, that is your February, that has 28 days. Does everyone agree with me? यहाँ तक सबको समझ आ रहा है? This is basic, calendar thing I am telling you. Okay. So now, guys, you are given the month number, and you just have to tell me whether how many days are in that particular month number. So, guys, I ask you very simply. मैं तुमको बस ये बोलता हूँ कि you know what? Have something like this. Check करो. If the month number is 1 or 3 or 5 or 7 or 8 or 10 or 12. If the month number is any one of these 1 or 3 or 5 or 7 or 8 or 10 or 12. अगर मेरा month number इन सब में से कोई एक हुआ, if my month number is either 1 or 3 or 5 or 7 or 8 or 10 or 12, then can I say that the number of days in that particular month will be 31? Do you agree? If your month is any one of these now, anyone, I am not anyone, इनमें से कोई भी हो ना, then I can proudly say that the number of days in the month is 31. Okay? Do you all agree, guys? Do you all agree? Yes? So let me try to write the code, and then it will try to make more sense, right? So I am claiming that, boss, if the month is 1 or 3 or 5 or 7 or 8 or 10 or 12, then my answer will be 31 days. Okay? अब मान लो your month is not any of these, okay? मैंने discard कर दिया कि I am not looking at month number 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. Then I can check, okay, if the month is 4 or 6 or 9 or 11, if you are looking at any one of these 4 months now, then your output will be 30 days. Okay. But if all these are false, right? Ki 1 bhi nahi hai, 3 bhi nahi hai, 5, 7, this is also discarded. And you are not looking at month number 4, 6, 9 or 11. This is also discarded. So the last possibility is that you are at a February. And so we will be returning 28. So you just have to check what is the month number. And depending on what month number you are looking at, you can directly tell me the answer. Okay. So if I want to make it more simpler to understand, think of it like this. Think of it like this, guys. 1 second. So think of it like you have buckets, right? So if your month number is inside this bucket, right? Either 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. If we are looking at any of these months now, then I will directly output 31 and my job is done. Let's say I know that I am not looking at these months. मैंने discard कर दिया कि भैया month 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12 तो नहीं है. Then I will look at what? Month number 4, 6, 9, 11. Is my month in any of these numbers? If yes, then my output will be 30. If this is also not true, then I know that I am looking at month number 2. So my output will be 28. So that is the basic logic that I am going to use over here, right? And again, guys, these questions can be done in multiple ways, right? So try to understand it in the simplest way possible, or you can do these questions in multiple different ways. So not a problem if your code is different, but your logic or algorithm should be correct. That is the idea. Okay. So let's first of all make a scanner. System.in, right? Now what do I do, guys? First of all, take the month number as input. So int m is equal to sc.next. So now, guys, I have the month number as input. So now let us check. If the month number is 1 or 3 or 5 or 7 or 8 or 10 or 12, अगर मेरा month number इनमें से कोई भी एक है ना, that means the month has 31 days. So how do I check? If m equal to 1, okay, or I will be grouping all these conditions with a logical or. Because if any one of these is true now, then I know that the month has 31 days. Guys, try to understand. If you use a logical and, it is wrong logic. Because your month cannot be 1 and 3 and 5 and 7 and 8 at the same time, right? I am telling, if the month number is 1, or my month number is 3, or my month number is 5, or my month number is 7, or my month number is 8, or my month number is 10, or my month number is 12. If any one of these conditions become true, that means the month is having 31 days. So I will enter inside the if block and I will print system.out.println 31. Okay. So if any one of these conditions if any one of these conditions become true. So see guys, first you get an input, then you will check. Is m equal to 1? No. Is m equal to 3? No. M equal to 5? No. M equal to 7? No. If any one of these conditions become true, then the output of the logical OR will be true. So I will enter inside this if block and I will print 31. Okay. Now guys think, okay? Now I am using an else if. Okay. So can you tell me when will I come to check the condition of the else if this entire condition evaluates to be false? And if this entire condition evaluates to be false, that means I am not looking at a month having 31 days. Do you agree with me? When will you come to the else if the condition of this if is false? Or false kab hoga? When all these conditions have become false, right? Because false or false or false or false or false or false or false. If all these relations are false, then the output will be false of this entire logical OR. And then only I will come to this else. Do you agree? Do you agree with me? Ki boss, see, if your month number is either 1 or 3 or 5 or 7 or 8 or 10 or 12, अगर इनमें से कोई भी एक month है ना आपका, then this entire condition of the if statement will become true. And you will enter inside the if block and you will print 31. And your job is done, right? Now, when will I come to this else if? I am trying to make an if else kind of a structure, right? So when will I come to this else if part? मैंने क्या बोला था? In an if else ladder, we come to the else if part only when the condition of the if statement is false. So when will this entire condition become false? When all these small conditions become false, right? Because you have logical ORs now. So if all the subparts become false, then only the entire condition will evaluate to be false. So I know that when I have come to line number 16, that means I have ruled out the possibility that, the month is of 31 days. Because if the month would have been of 31 days now, this if condition would have become true and we would have entered and printed 31. So when I have come to this else if, I know that the month is no longer 30 days, wala possibility has been ruled out. Okay. Now, else if. So now let us check for 30 days. So I check else if m equal to 4, okay, or m equal to 6, okay, or m equal to 9, or m equal to 11. So once I am sure that the month is not of 31 days, I come to this else if part and I will check, is the month number 4 or the month number 6 or the month number 9 or month number 11. If you have any one of these 4 months now, that means you are looking at a month containing 30 days. So I will enter inside the else if block and I will print 30 days, right? So we'll enter and we'll print system.out.println 30. Okay. Now guys, if all these conditions are also false, that means there is only one other possible option left to you. You have discarded the option of 31 days. You have discarded all the months which could have been of 30 days. That means your M is of value 2. All right. So now we can have an else part. Boss, if all the conditions evaluate to be false, that means you are standing on a February. The month number is 2. Okay, February month. So we will come to the else block and we will do a system.out.println 28. Why 28? Because it has been told to us consider a non-leap year. If it would have been told to you consider a leap year, then for February you will have 29 days. But for a normal year, February will have 28 days. Okay. So guys, let's try to take an example. Right, to help understand. Let's say m is equal to 7. The month number is 7. So m ka value 7 ho gaya. I come to this if condition, right? I start evaluating. Is 7 equal to 1? No, this is false. Look at this. Is 7 equal to 3? No, it's false. Is 7 equal to 5? No, it's false. Is 7 equal to 7? Yes, this condition will evaluate to be true. The moment this condition evaluates to be true, the compiler will now do a short circuiting because boss, you are having logical ORs and one condition is evaluated to be true. So this entire expression false or false or false or true or false or false or false, this entire thing will evaluate to a true. Okay, because you have one expression as true. So the entire if condition evaluates to be true, you will enter inside the if block, you will print 31 and then you will come outside this if else structure. Job done. समझ रहे हो? तो अगर 31 वाला days हुआ, 31 day का month हुआ, then you will enter inside this if condition and you will print 31. Now let's say you had a month equal to 9. Okay, you had month equal to 9. So what will happen, guys? First you check. Is 9 equal to 1? No. 9 equal to 3? No. 9 equal to 5? No. So all these, comparisons give you false. So false or false or false or false or false or false or false will be false only. So this entire condition evaluates to be false. The if block condition evaluates to be false. So now we will come to the else if condition and I check. Is 9 equal to 4? No, false. Okay. I don't know why I'm not able to write double lines for some strange reason, but yeah. Okay. Then I check. Is 9 equal to 6? No, false. Is 9 equal to 9? Yes, this will evaluate to be true, right? And the moment one of the conditions, one of the expressions evaluate to be true, this entire logical OR thing will be true. You will enter inside this else if block, print 30, and you will come outside the structure, right? But if let's say you have given m is equal to 2, then the if condition will also be false, the else if condition will also be false. So you will enter the else block and you will print 28, which is the number of days in February. Okay? Cool. Now guys, it is very logical to make a logical or here, right? अगर आप logical and करते तो आप गलत हो जाते. Why? Because guys, m cannot be 1 and 3 and 5 and 7 and 8 and 10 and 12 at the same time, right? So you cannot do it like this. Okay, you have to use a logical or only. Okay, and some people are asking why not print 31 like this. You can print like this also, but generally when they are asking for the number of days or integer, I generally print it as normal integers only. Why print strings, right? When you can print integers. Okay, so let's try to run the code, guys. Let's give the month as month number 5. So month number 5 is May, which is expected to have 31 days. Let's see the output. It's showing 31 days. Okay, let's give the month number as 2. So we are expecting 28 days to be printed. Let's see. Yes, so it's working fine, right? So let's try to submit it. Okay, so all the test cases passed.